So we'd like to welcome you back to the Barber Biz Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Brown. And our episode, of course, is sponsored by soc.consulting. And for today, we have another special guest in the building, my guy, JB with Barbers Inc. TV. How you doing today, sir? You doing all right?
I'm well. Thanks for having me, Mr. Brown.
Man, please don't call me Mr. Brown. Just call me Dan, please. Sound like
I can do that as well, whatever you prefer. So Dan did.
So Barbers Inc. TV, just to kind of go back to the beginning. So do you have a background in the barber industry or in the beauty and barber industry?
Actually, I do. I'm 21 years in. Most people know me as JD. My personal brand is actually J Dillard. And in all retrospect, Barbers Inc., when we created it, is a reality show. So we known as Barbers Inc. reality TV show. We actually had a deal with WeTV 7-8 years ago, and the deal kind of fell through. And we actually shot a scissor reel. And my business partner at the time, cancer came back, who actually took everything and pushed it through. And I did want to continue to go forward until she was actually cancer free. So in the meantime, until her health got back up to par, we continued to push Barbers Inc. as a featured page. So we began to go through different hashtags and come across different barbers and stylists from across the world. And we began to pull their work and actually put it on our platform. And once that happened, the brand just continued to grow and grow. And, 7-8 years in, we're close to 500,000 followers on Facebook, 8,000 on Twitter, 13,000 on Facebook, close to 500,000 on Instagram, 7,000 on Twitter. And we're right at 5.8 million hashtag worldwide now.
Congratulations on that success thus far.
Yeah, I can't take credit for that. That all comes from different barbers and stylists who liked the brand, followed the brand, used the hashtag, and just really gave us the opportunity to promote you guys' work on the platform we just put up. So we don't take any credit for it. We just look at ourselves as an additional outlet, and we basically give kudos to all the amazing barbers and stylists, man, within our industry.
Absolutely. So are you originally from Atlanta or are you from, like most of us, you're not from here, but you're here?
Correct. Give you my background. I was born in Mississippi, raised in New Orleans. Came back to Mississippi and went to high school, and I got a full-fledged football scholarship to East Mississippi Community College, where I played 2 years with top-tier talent. And then from that point, I received another scholarship to Tuskegee University in 1996. And my legacy started in 96 at Tuskegee University.
Okay. What made you start to get into barbering?
Funny story. I'll make it quick. At the age of 10, my mother bought a pair of oyster clippers. And she said she had a surprise for me. When I opened it up, I looked at it, I literally started crying because it was clippers. So I guess from a financial perspective, to save money, I'm assuming, she began to cut my hair and my baby brother's hair at that time. And haircut was fine. But what my mother did was she gave me what I call a hilltop lining, where she edged me around like this, what we call a feminine edge for women nowadays.
Oh, okay.
And she sent me out there naked to school, and I got roasted. I mean, roasted for weeks until my edge grew back. And that was the birth of me picking up clippers at the age of 10. I started practicing on my own head, following the grain. And then I had a little brother that I butchered for years. So that's how I got started at the age of 10. So it started with a fatal haircut.
Okay. So did you go to barber school? Were you an apprentice, or how did you, like, when you look back, how did you get started in that light?
Got it. So I'm a self-taught master barber.
Okay.
To get everybody up, I opened up my first shop in Tuskegee while I was in college in 1999. if you know your history in the state of Alabama during that time, you did not need a barber's license. Two things you only needed. You needed a business license and liability insurance. My girlfriend at that time was my first investor. So she took a $400 worth of rent money, gave it to me, and I opened up my shop in 99 after quitting a barbershop, which was actually 3 blocks from Tuskegee University campus. And it was named University Barbershop 1881, which is the year Tuskegee University was erected. And I've had that shop for 20 years before I recently let it go.
Wow.
So to answer your question, I left, ended up working in DC for a minute for United Negro College Fund special programs doing IT work. And we actually had a $250,000 contract to do IT work. Once it played its course, I really got burnt out because I went to school for marketing and management. I took everything I had, came back to Atlanta, Georgia, which I had my godmother at the time who I stayed with in College Park. And I needed to do something. So I knew I had this gift of cutting hair. So I just rode around and wound up in Lithonia, Georgia. And they had just built Stonecrest Mall. Yep. And I was a member of New Birth at the time, back when Bishop Eddie Long was here. And I walked into a shop and I met another master barber by the name of John King, who actually created the KSI highlight from Philly. Yep. We worked together. And that was the shop I met him in. He introduced me to the owner a week later named Novis from Cali. And I told him, hey, I'm a barber. I'm not licensed, yada, yada, yada. And he said, look, this is what we'll do. I'll give you a trial run. I bring you in and we go from there. So I actually started in a barber shop called Cuts and Coffee in Lithonia, which is across the street from Stonecrest Mall. And within 3 months, I was booked up. From that point, I did an apprenticeship up under the barber there named Stan. He was from Mississippi, and it was the worst because he never reported any of my hours. Exactly. So once that happened, I knew another master barber by the name of Victor Doctor. Victor Doctor is to me is a legend. He's from Atlanta, and he is the one who created the metal guards called the Valco guard, which is just like your red Speedo guards. Yep. He created a metal version of those. And he's the first one to actually create the first barber box that you put all your tools in. It sits on top of your station. And I knew Victor, and I asked him, like, look, this is what's going on. I would like to obtain my license, but this was happening. So he said, look, you can come over here to where I'm at First Class Barbershop, which is off Panola Road. I quit Cuts and Coffee. Second thing I ever quit in my life. Came over to Victor. We had submitted all the paperwork, paid for everything. And from that point, I got my apprenticeship up under Victor Doctor. So I got grandfathered in the state of Alabama as a master barber because I was a shop owner. Then I got my apprenticeship up under Victor. Once I accumulated my hours, I went to State Board of Macon, not once, but twice. Okay. And obtained my license. So technically I'm licensed in 2 states. So one, I grandfathered in Alabama. I did my apprenticeship up under Victor Doctor in the state of Georgia. And then from that point, once I obtained my license, I actually left the barbershop, and I haven't been working in a shop in probably like 12 or 14 years.
Well, first off, that's an amazing story, to be honest with you. That's an amazing journey, and it just speaks to a lot of perseverance. It speaks to a lot of diligence, a lot of dedication. And that's interesting in terms of, basically, like you said, once you actually got the license, then you ended up transitioning outside of the shop. So where did you go to from that point after kind of going through that journey? And now after your license, now you transition out of the shop. But what was next?
Well, the reason why I transitioned out of the shop was a couple of things. I was killing myself because I wasn't treating my body correctly. And a lot of us, we have this grind mentality to the point I just have to get it. Because when I was at Cuts and Coffee, I used to be at work as early as 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. And I was doing my vegan diets first thing in the morning. I used to put out between 28 to 32 haircuts within a day. Mm-hmm. So in all retrospect, I was basically killing myself, coming home with striations in my legs, not wearing comfortable shoes, having these heavy clippers. It was just a lot. It was a strain on me. And I said, I have to make a change. So my girlfriend at the time said, look, you did all this. You put me through grad school. I'm going to hold this down until you decide what transition you want to do. And that's why I ended up leaving the shop. Once I left the shop, I had such a large, vast clientele that I went to start doing house calls because I really like a lot of people inside my home. But I had such a great clientele that I was beginning to do house calls. But in the same breath, I was also traveling. I was touring with different people, you know what I'm saying, from R&B groups to hip hop groups, to being on the road with Bishop Betty Long. I was one of his 3 barbers at the time, including John King, doing things for Minister Dietrich Haddon, doing TV and film work. And then I just ended up transitioning, and it just got bigger and bigger through referrals to the last 6 years. I've been on tour with Country Wayne. And I've been cutting his hair for almost 10 years. So I'm his personal barber. So me making that sacrifice to get out of the shop to doing what I'm doing and basically following my dreams in terms of wanting to create a legitimate reality show, books and things of that nature, I wouldn't be able to do that by continuously being behind the chair. So I made some sacrifices, and none of it was all pretty. I always tell people, just because we tell you this story and it sounds with the glams and glams, but I have my struggles. It's always struggles, and those struggles is what I call experiences. So I take those struggles, transition them into experiences, and then I continue to come out to where I'm at today. And you have the Barbazine, you have the tours, you have the giving back, you have the consultation, because I'm basically showing people and telling them my experiences that I went through, which used to be my struggles. So that's how I end up transitioning and just get into any and everything. And I just never looked back. So
if you could, do you mind telling us just an example of one of the challenges or struggles that you faced?
Absolutely. So having a home, having a girlfriend, and she had a child, I wasn't bringing in the same amount of income. So taking consideration, when I was working in custom coffee, we're talking about 15 plus years ago, my haircuts then was between $20 and $45 a cut then. I was introduced to vegan dyes and things of that nature way before then. So the amount of income I was bringing in, it was a major dip, because now if I'm doing house calls, I wasn't charging people necessarily for travel, but I was still charging the same price as it was if I was in a barbershop. So the income I was bringing in inside of a stable barbershop versus doing house calls, and still your bills are not getting less, they're getting more, because you live in a certain lifestyle. You still got car note, insurance, and so forth and so on. And a lot of that began to shift on my girlfriend at that time. And she did not deserve that. So what ended up happening, to be honest with you, from a financial perspective, we begin to bump heads.
Yeah.
So, and when you begin to bump heads, it begins to bring tension within your solid foundation. When that ended up happening, from a personal perspective, I end up leaving my home. I end up leaving the relationship. And that was strictly because of pride. You know what I'm saying? And pride is a major thing. It can be a detrimental to any and everybody if you don't get it in check. And at that time, I didn't get my pride in check. So I let my pride get the best of me. So I was end up homeless. I didn't have to be homeless, but I slept in my truck because the way I presented myself and how I moved, I didn't allow anybody in. I didn't tell anybody what I had going on, because to me, the best kept secret is no secret. So I'm not going to allow you to judge and assume anything. So I weathered the storm. I slept in my truck for X amount of months. I got back on my feet. And once I got back on my feet, I began to network through other clients. So that's why I always express to people, yeah, we're there to beautify our clients from the neck up, and we're there to make sure they feel good about themselves once we're done. But what I'm very good at is I network with every person, boy or girl, man or child, that sat in my chair. And my Rolodex was strictly amazing. And by me doing that, I got a chance to travel and meet any and everybody. And by me doing that, I was able to transition from my experiences, which I call a bad situation, to now I no longer have to chase what we call a bag today, to now I'm just getting outsourced for my services. And in the same time, I was able to witness 45 states and 11 countries over an 18-year period or 18-year span. So those were some of the downfalls and struggles I've dealt with. And I hate the word humble, because I think if people really understood the definition to it, they wouldn't use it as much. But I own my situation, which I wasn't owning my situation then. So I had to sit back, reevaluate, look myself in the mirror, and I had to own my situation. And once I did that, things began to materialize in a better situation for me, and I was able to move forward. So, and I speak about that whenever I get in front of crowds and speak on my barberpreneurship courses and so forth and so on. But I had to own what it is that I did, and it was nobody's fault but mine. So those are some of the learnings, experience I went through in order to be able to move forward into the position that we are today.
Thank you for sharing that with us. So when it comes to somebody who's in school now, or perhaps in an apprenticeship, what advice would you give them in terms of staying the course, despite the fact that they'll have challenges that come up?
Correct. Well, for me, I don't have the same situation. Everybody has a different situation. So I always tell everybody has a story. So if you have the ability to separate whatever you got going on personally and try to focus and zone in terms of what it is you need to accomplish business-wise or career-wise, then you can deal with the road less travel and you'll be able to come in regardless. Don't think about the financial aspect. Don't think about the tuition or the grants. Do whatever needs to get done. Use all the necessary resources. And then from that point, just stick to the course. I wasn't fortunate enough to go to school. I get asked that question a lot. You know, like I said before, I'm self-taught, but I did what was needed to do. I didn't buck the system. I just went the apprenticeship route, still went and took my state board. So therefore, that would be something that wasn't lingering over my head. And at the end of the day, I just think it should be just an accomplishment just to say, hey, I graduated. Hey, I have my L's. Like, hey, it might have took me 2 or 3 years. And I was able to weather the storm, but I was able to accomplish that. And I just think it's a big thing at some point where therefore they will appreciate it long term. And then they can look back at the kids or anybody else that's actually coming through to say, hey, regardless of what you went through, regardless of what I went through, we all weathered the storm. And guess what? We all on the same level. We all see eye to eye because we now have our L's and we actually trying to move forward to provide for ourselves, for our family, for our community, and actually give back. So that's my take on that. You know, I used to sit on the fence for it for a while, but, you know, I think it's of importance. And even more now, if you're into the political aspect of it, they're constantly trying to deregulate, you know, our industry. And I want to be a force on that end, but I have to take care of some other stuff first. But hopefully I was able to answer your question.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that. So I just got 2 more questions for you. So tell us about the hashtag. Tell us about Barbers Inc. Tell us about the importance of being able to use hashtags when it comes to your a barber or a stylist that's going to be showing their work.
Yeah, that's very easy. I always tell people, don't get caught up in terms of the followers, the likes, the comments, the views. All that can be generated. You know what I'm saying? People always say it's the algorithm. In our retrospect, an algorithm is basically created based on how we communicate amongst each other through social media platforms, and they're collecting that data. So it's not what they're creating, it's what we create and how we communicate. So I took heed in the beginning when I hopped on Instagram was hashtag. I picked up hashtagging through Twitter, who is the king of hashtagging. Hashtag, I used to know it as a pound button on a telephone back in the day. I'm 45.
Yeah, we all did.
When people say hashtag, I'm like, no, that's a pound button. I'm like, no, it's a hashtag.
I say, you mean the number sign?
Absolutely. So, you know, that's a pound button. You know what I'm saying? If I was to turn around and, you know, ask Alexa, whatever, you know, they might correct me. But in any event, I was big on hashtags then. I'm big on hashtags now. So I tell people, your name on social media can always change. I see barbers and stylists and just regular everyday consumers continuously change their name. And when you constantly change your names, you get lost in the wash. But those hashtags that you have, you can begin to take those hashtags and build them up with. Therefore, you can go across any social media platform. So if you want to go to Bing, you want to go to Google, you want to go to whatever and just put that hashtag in, it will pop up and it will populate to show you any and every different platform on every major spectrum that actually utilize that hashtag. that get looked at upon more so than anything else. So I created a term called the barberpreneur, and I teach a course called barberpreneurship. So I created roughly about 10 years ago, and from Bronner to ISSE Long Beach, the American Beauty Show, I teach my courses. So I tell people dealing with the hashtag, you can also own your hashtag for a one-time fee of $10. For monetary perspective, I don't know, but I tell people it's really about the status quo. If you look at the example when it comes to movies, back in the day, we knew we was in the .com era, which was in the late 90s. People would go to .com/Batman the movie. Then we'll fast forward, we had your MySpace /Batman the movie. Fast forward again, we come into the Twitter era, Twitter /Batman movie. Now you have Facebook. You have all these bots and people that come along. They knew something popping that's going to come from video game, whatever. They began to purchase all these .coms and social media outlets, and then they come back and try to sell it to you. Fast forward to the 21st century, hashtag is the key. So you look at any new movie, video game, anything that comes out now, everything is a hashtag this or a hashtag that. So now I can use this hashtag and begin to draw traffic towards that hashtag, and it begins to populate in any and everything across all social media platforms like anything else. So I can honestly say I was ahead of the game when it came to that. So with Barbers Inc., you guys, we always promote the hashtag. We say a chance to be featured, please hashtag Barbers Inc. TV, which is strictly our social media handle, but our name is Barbers Inc. So we're incorporated as Barbers Inc. Reality TV Show LLC. So we want to continue to keep that brand consistent across all platforms. So that's why when we created the brand, we put TV behind it because that was the only thing available at that time. So with the hashtagging, which is a beautiful thing, I tell people you can go into any type of explorer and pull up hashtags. So because of people like y'all, Dan, and so forth and so on, you all have built Barbers Inc. TV hashtag to 5.8 to 5.9 million hashtag. We're the second most used hashtag behind Barbershop Connect when it comes to feature pages. But we're the fifth most used hashtag that's anything barber related worldwide. And I can honestly say I'm the first melanated Black person to have a hashtag of that magnitude that I own that's being used within the top 5 percentile that's worldwide. And that's only accredited to you all that follow the brand. We created, but it's only driven because of you all with your dope haircuts, your content, your ads, you're using that hashtag. That's all because of you guys. You all think of us enough to attach your brand to our hashtag or to add us and to push it out to the world. So I always tell people all the time, I can't take credit for something that isn't ours. We can create the look of it, but it's only ran and produced because of you all. So that's why I give my credit back to on a continuous basis. Anybody tell you anything differently, they're lying. We can create brands all day, but it's still a collective effort. You know what I'm saying? So that's the importance to me when it comes to hashtags. So for all those who's listening to your podcast, go hard on your hashtags, but also you can do up to 33 on Instagram. You can only do up to 15, I think, on YouTube. Yeah. I think the same way with Twitter. I think it's 20, 25 on Twitter. And I don't have a Facebook page. We just have a Facebook fan page. I don't do Facebook personally. But those hashtags are of importance. So I always tell people, always brand yourself with your hashtag. And if you use certain hashtags like God, Monday, stuff like that, it's always being used every nanosecond. You have to begin to teach your fan base to use certain hashtag, even if it's a post within your stories, and begin to draw traffic towards your hashtag and begin to get it circulated within a certain algorithm. So therefore it becomes popular over time. So I tell people, look for hashtag 200,000 or 300,000 or things within season. New Coming to America 2 movies getting ready to drop on Amazon Prime March now versus supposed to drop in December. So people are going to begin to use those hashtags. We know the PS5 is dropped. Use those certain hashtags. And people say, what does that have to do with anything with barbering? Everything. If somebody's a PS5 fan, they're looking for a PS5, but they might come across a dope haircut and they begin to follow that particular brand. It happens all the time. When Pokemon Go came out, we were using that hashtag. Now we're pulling these Pokemon fan base over and they had no clue that this whole world of repost haircuts was out here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you have to view everything as a digital lookbook. But that's how I explain hashtagging. It's extremely powerful, and I enjoy that more so than people saying you don't have enough followers and likes. And I say you can't get caught up in the gimmick of stuff. Go to social media for what it's needed for, which is social media networking.
Yeah.
Get what you need to get out of it. Just do a dope haircut, continuous education, networking with the right people, events, whatever the case may be, and don't get caught up in the trap in terms of you don't have enough views or who are you because you don't have enough that. We see and hear that all the time, and it's really Comedy Central. You know what I'm saying? So
okay, well, appreciate that, man. Like you just dropped a bunch of gems and stuff I didn't even know myself, so we appreciate that. I got one more question for you. So
sure.
what's on tap? What's coming up next for Barbers Inc.?
Oh man, 3 different things. I have a children's book that's dropping on February 23rd.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man. I'm the first licensed master barber to receive a $30,000 advance for a 3-book series. And I actually signed with the largest publishing company, which is Random House. They reached out to me. And let's talk about my life cutting hair in Mississippi since the age of 10. I just got nominated for an award, which I can receive $50,000 for. And we're in talks right now with DreamWorks and actually turning my book series into an animated series right now. So we have some networks that reached out to my attorney. So we're making history because it's the first children's illustrated book that actually mentions a barber battle in it. So it's called JD and the Great Barber Battle. So 90% is based off my life in Mississippi. And then I have a complete trilogy. So I'm stoked about that.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah, so I'm really stoked because I never wanted to self-publish. So I told my literacy agency in New York State, they said what I wanted. I said I want to be a New York Times bestseller, which is only 10,000 copies, and 12,500 was purchased. And then I just want to make my mother proud. Those are the only 2 things I wanted. The fast forward in terms of Barbers Inc., we're now going to reshoot Barbers Inc. We will be doing a casting call for that. But the beautiful thing with Barbers Inc. for the concept is it's going to showcase the life of 6 barbers from 6 different states, but what our life is like outside of a shop. I don't like the baby mama drama, sitting in the shop talking about politicking. Like, been there, done that. You know, you have the shop in New York State. You had this other reality show that was in Vegas with these women in stilettos and fishnet pantyhose. It was actually executive produced by Mark Cuban. And it was very successful because it was on Spike TV. And then, of course, you had the other stuff with the said barber battle. So the concept I'm developing is completely different, but we're going to give it away for free and put it on IGTV on Barbers Inc. And then we're just going to put sponsors ads in between that. So, but as of right now, we'll be shooting at the end of March. So I created a reality show in 2017 called Junior Master Barber. So if you ever seen Master Chef Junior with Gordon Ramsay with kids on there under the age of 15 cooking,
yeah,
I mirrored that concept when we created Junior Master Barber. So we'll be casting kids between the ages of 9 and 15. They come on set to win $10,000 in cash. They'll be sponsored by a Clipper company for a whole year. But the grand prize is they'll receive a full-fledged scholarship to Paul Mitchell Beauty School, sponsored by John Mosley, Mr. Popular Nobody. So everybody loves the concept. I've been sitting on it. We have great feedback from Netflix and everybody else. So we have an investor now. So we'll go to LA and shoot it for 2.5 weeks, package it. And we just want to show the world, introduce the world to how talented the young generation is. Like, I didn't have social media growing up or a mentor. It's just something that I picked up, and it was just what we call trial and error.
Yeah.
Nowadays, man, it is amazing what these kids are doing at such a young age. And it's just overwhelming. So I can't tell you what's all in it. I know we have Mr. State Board on board. Self-Cut System is on board. I got Erskine Reeves out of Chicago. He's going to want to consultants on board. And John Mosley, of course, is on board. So we bringing in some people I respect and who's going to give a different dynamic to the show. And notice I said people I respect, not so popularity. I don't care how popular you are because our brand helped make a lot of these barbers popular. and they begin to show their arrogancy. And those are things that up and coming barbers, I want them to stay away from. Don't get caught up into the arrogance, because that's not what our industry is about. Our industry is about providing great quality work and giving back to the community. That's what the glam industry is really about. So, in any event, those are the three major things we have coming up next year. And yeah, we're gonna keep everybody abreast, and just hope they're excited in terms of what it is. We just want to put our industry on the map and basically introduce the rest of the world to what it is that we're doing, which is so amazing to us. We want to introduce the world to the glam industry and respect us as master cosmetologists, master hairdressers, master barbers. We don't want to be looked upon no more as a hustle. This is not a hustle. I was hustling for candy and lollipops when I was 10. But when it began to pay my bills and mortgages and providing, that hustle mentality went out a long time ago. So people need to understand this is the second most dominant industry within the United States. We generate $50 to $60 billion annually, not including the male grooming. Yeah. And I was in the head of that 5 or 6 years ago, helping all these other brands promote that through Barber Consulting. There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes, and I'm still helping people because I don't want that. That's their baby. That's their shine. I stick to where I'm at, and we just roll with it. But from a melanated perspective, it's imperative we don't ask for support. Just look at the things that we don't talk about that you guys have no clue, because a lot of the time we sit and we behind the scenes and we don't want all that attention. You know what I'm saying? The same thing that you're doing in terms of you giving back. And everybody know Mr. Harris, but Ms. Baker speaks very highly of you. You know what I'm saying? So, and you didn't have a clue that she was my business partner when we created the very first man unit hair battle in Atlanta earlier this year, which was a success. And that's accredited to her as well. Her and I had just met and actually be my business partner. And we had a very successful event, and we had people come all the way from overseas to compete. And we gave away $3,000 in cash. So that's accredited to you being a great instructor and help bringing up good people through you guys' program. So I just want to say kudos to you as well.
I appreciate it. And man, we greatly appreciate you coming in today. You know, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to have you, on for one of our episodes. And we look forward to seeing all the great things that the company is doing going forward. We look forward to being able to hear or see all the different things that can be coming down the road, watching them on TV, watching them on our phones, watching them on Netflix, watching them on social media, just across the board. You know, we appreciate everything that you dropped on us today, and we're looking forward to seeing more of your successes down the road.
Thank you, man. I always tell people I'm never successful, man. I'm still succeeding. But everything starts back with you all as the educators. If you all put out great students and you educate and bring those up right, just like anything else, to start with you guys. So once again, I have to tip my hat to you as an educator, because we don't have a lot of good educators. Most people I see, opening up schools for financial gain. And I see a lot of schools closing because of mismanagement of financial gain. So once again, when you're in a great, stable environment and you are an educator and you're passionate and you're really giving back, but you really want to make sure that your student succeeds, that's of importance to me. That puts a smile on my face. I don't care about all that other stuff and the accolades. That means nothing to me if you can't reach back and help the people coming up. That means absolutely nothing to me. I don't care about none of that. So once again, I'm telling you on this podcast, thank you for the opportunity, but my hat's off to good educators, people like yourself who brings up good students and putting them out in the field, but you're putting them out there prepared. You put them out there prepared. That's a difference. When you put them into the field prepared, you're not putting them out there naked just to make sure they pass state board. It's one thing to pass state board, but it's another thing to come out there naked and have no clue, because you still got to put some clothes on. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I see that all the time. Everybody want to run and be your own shop owner. And I tell people, if I can go back in time, I would have never opened up a shop. I think it's sexy to be a master barber and pay booth rent. Because once I build up my clientele, I can change my price as I see fit, and my booth rent at least going to stay the same 1 or 2 years. They have no clue what all else comes with it. So that's just some of my experiences, but everything is trial and error, and that's what we are today. So once again, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. I hope they take a lot from this, and continue to do what you're doing. If you guys ever want to invite me back, I'm just a phone call away or email away. And as your students and stuff come, now we're networking now. You have our email address, and we try to get as much stuff, especially with you guys' school on Barbers Inc., to shine a light on that program. So if it's content and stuff like that, graduation, enrollment, we tell everybody the same. We don't charge for that. It's like a click of a button. It's about communicating. You send us an email, we get it in a timely fashion. We'll put it up for you guys. It doesn't hurt our brand or the page. That's what it's about, networking.
And I appreciate it, Jay, man. They're just phenomenal thoughts and insights. We appreciate it again. Thank you. And we look forward to being able to talk with you again down the road.
Pleasure's all mine. Have a good day, man.
All right, man. You too.
Peace.